Welcome to my weekly edition. This is the second edition for the month of October. Today, I am going to be discussing a concept that has a personal meaning to me. I want to talk about the concept of destiny helpers. Yes, as I said, it's a concept that I am comfortable with. It is going to take in the form of, first of all, an explanation or teaching. Then I will follow up with application or testimony. So that is what I'm going to do today. So let me start with the teaching about destiny helpers. Actually, the Bible did not explicitly teach on destiny helpers. No. But the concept is well captured in the Bible, in forms, in examples, in illustrations. And I'm going to take just one verse of the Bible to illustrate it. And I'm going to take an obscure verse of the Bible, a verse that many people have not even encountered or appreciated before. That is Amos chapter 7, verse 5. That is where I'm going to take my teaching from. And it says, "Then said I, O Lord God, cease. I beseech thee, by whom shall Jacob arise? For he is small." So I'm going to be focusing on the second aspect, that is the B aspect of that verse. By whom shall Jacob arise? For he is small. There are at least 3 points or 3 thoughts or 3 ideas that I can bring out from that verse. Number 1 is Jacob is small. That's the first point. Jacob is small. And that smallness, I believe, has nothing to do with his size or stature, but rather it has to do with his standing or status. So it's not about his height or his weight, but his personality, his position, his influence, his resources. That is to say, Jacob was a man of little resources. If you classify human beings according to socioeconomic status, Jacob will be down there. He's small. He's a small person. Then, second point is Jacob shall arise. You say, by whom shall Jacob arise? Shall Jacob arise? So you can rearrange the words. Jacob shall arise. Which means that, yes, now he is small, but he is not destined to remain small. Jacob shall arise. Jacob shall increase. Jacob shall move. That is to say, he's going to achieve social mobility. Whereas now he is a small person of low influence, of low resources, he shall move up the ladder and become an influential person, a man of substance. Jacob shall arise. Then number 3 is the almighty question. You see, by whom shall Jacob arise? You see, the question is not by what. It's not talking about the means. It's not by how. It's not talking about the method. But rather, by whom. It's talking about a person, a man. That is to say that Jacob shall arise, but it is going to be through the instrumentality of somebody. It is somebody that will help Jacob facilitate the movement of Jacob. If Jacob shall stop being small and be a great person, somebody must have a hand in it. So that is, foreshadowing the teaching of destiny helpers. So that is the background. So the background of the teaching is that we all have our appointed destiny. Yes, I have always been teaching that each individual has a divine purpose or mission or assignment. I have thought on that several times. Nobody is an accident. Nobody is useless. You have a role, you have a function, you have an assignment. There's something you will need to accomplish. Then that assignment, that's your mission, that's your purpose, is not something you are going to achieve single-handedly, so to say. Yes, for you to accomplish your purpose, you need helps. Some people will contribute at one point. And that is the fact. You see, there is a stage in the journey of life where your success depends on other people. Okay, so it's not always your effort, your contribution, or your input that will make you successful. There's a point where forces outside your control will come into play. And sometimes those forces are other people. There are people we call connection. There's connection. You need connection at a point. So it is something also I have taught, I have discussed, that you need connections. You need people. There are people that will make things easy for you. And those people are called divine helpers or destiny helpers. So that is what I want to talk about today. So now let me now zero into the teaching proper. How can we define destiny helpers? So we go to the definition. By definition, a destiny helper is a person or it could be persons whom God has strategically placed in your life to assist you or to support you or to guide you towards fulfilling your divine purpose or expected end. So there are people that influenced, contributed to guiding you, to making sure you stay on the path that will lead you to achieve your purpose. In any way they did it, they contributed to you fulfilling your destiny. They are destiny helpers. So it's a person or persons that appear in your life at a critical moment to provide specific assistance or connection or provide the resources or insight that you need to propel you towards achieving your purpose. So that is destiny helpers. From this definition, there are some characteristics of destiny helpers, some things, some facts about destiny helpers. Number one is that they are strategically positioned. They are at the right place at the right time to help you. Then number two is that they facilitate your destiny. They make it easier for you to achieve your destiny. They contribute to your achievement of your destiny. And then number three is that they use their resources for you. What is theirs? They make it available for you. They bring them to your disposal. It may be physical resources, it may be material, it may be mental, it may be spiritual, it may be emotional. But what is theirs, they make available to you. And then number four, they are divine. Destiny helpers are divinely chosen. You don't start looking for destiny helpers. They come to you. They appear. Sometimes from nowhere. Sometimes unexpectedly. Okay, so it is something that God orchestrates. We believe that it is God that raised them for you. Then they take different forms. Destiny helpers take different forms. It could be a friend, it could be a colleague, it could be a neighbor, it could be mentors, it could even be strangers, people that you have never met before, people that have never met you before. They can appear in your life at a particular time and guide you and lead you towards the direction of your destiny. So I'm going to talk about the categories of destiny helpers. There's people who have studied the subject, have been able to identify different categories. Of course, taking examples from the Bible. I'm going to bring the examples of the categories from the Bible. Number one, we have those that are called divine connectors. Okay, these are the people that connect you with people that will help you. So their own help is to connect you with other helpers because they don't have what you need. They don't have the resources. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the capacity to help you, but they know who can help you, so they can connect you. An example we normally give is that young maid in the land of Syria, that captive or slave girl captured by the Syrian captain, Naaman, who told the mistress, I wish your husband will go to the prophet in Israel. He will recover him of his leprosy. And when the man paid heed, took the counsel, he went to Israel and he was healed. So that young lady was a divine connector. She cannot help Naaman, but she knew who could, and she connected. So that is divine connection. Then we have experienced mentors. People that help you in your decision making. Okay? They guide you. They direct you. Maybe in choice of a career, the kind of career you choose, somebody influenced you to make that choice so that you'll be on the right track. We can give an example as Mordecai. Mordecai in the Bible, who helped Esther. Esther eventually became a queen, but it's because of the mentorship of Mordecai. So Mordecai was a divine helper or destiny helper. We can say that Esther was destined to be a queen, to end up in the palace, but somebody groomed her, trained her, prepared her for that role. So Mordecai was a destiny helper and an experienced mentor. Then we have gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are people of influence. They have some influence on people that can help you. They speak for you. Okay? They speak for you. They are advocates. Even unknown to you, they are making a case for you in the presence of those that can help you. An example we can give was Joseph in the Bible. Joseph once had a prison mate. When he was in the prison, he had a fellow prisoner in the cell who has direct access to the Pharaoh, to the monarch, to the king. Okay? So eventually that one came out of prison, back to the palace, back to the presence of Pharaoh. And at a particular point, he says something in favor of Joseph. Joseph was not aware. Joseph did not know that a discussion was going on between Pharaoh and that man, the butler or the cupbearer. And that man said something in favor of Joseph. And that same night, Joseph was released from prison and brought to the presence of Pharaoh. So that one was a gatekeeper. Yes, he is of influence. Then number 4, we have burden bearers. People that bear your burden, that stick with you, pray with you. But burden bearers are prayer warriors. People that help to pray and pray you into your destiny and ensure that you achieve your mission. For instance, Jesus had some people with him, people he called disciples. There were 12 of them. Among the 12, there are some inner caucus, Peter, James, and John, that every now and then he will carry them along to go and pray. So they were praying with him. Even at his dark night, at Gethsemane, he carried them along. So they were burden bearers. They identified with his vision and they prayed about it to make it happen. Then number 5, we have gifted helpers. Gifted helpers. These are people that make their gifts available to you. They use their resources, their natural resources, their ability, their talent, their gifts, their capacity, their knowledge to make your own destiny come to pass. Yes. They offer their services at no cost. They offer their services at no cost. For instance, David was a great warrior. Okay, but of course he has his mighty men. The reign of David was successful. He almost won every battle. He subdued all his enemies. But he had his mighty men that made it happen. They were his destiny helpers. They fought alongside with him. They used their strength and military skill on his behalf. So they were destiny helpers. Okay? Then we have financial helpers. They are one of the most important aspects of destiny helpers. People that sponsor your dream. They invest in you. They make their resources available to you. They sponsor your project. Example was the daughter of Pharaoh who adopted Moses. You know, that lady was a destiny helper. Okay? Moses was destined to be a leader, in fact, to be the father of a nation. The nation of Israel was born under Moses. Not only that, Moses was destined to write scriptures. It is known that it was Moses that wrote the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis to Deuteronomy. Usually they are called the books of Moses. Jesus called them the books of Moses. That is to say, he confirmed that Moses wrote those books. And who could have written a book like that if not a person that is well educated, well lettered? And Moses had that education in Egypt. You know? So that woman adopted Moses, brought him to the palace, and gave him the best education in the world that time. Because that time Egypt was the civilization of the world, the number 1 country in the world. So they have the best education. And Moses had it. Education that you give a king so that he'll be able to do what he was destined to do. So that woman was a destiny helper to Moses. Then there's another type of destiny helpers that are not so common. And these are the divine antagonists. These are the people that play the devil advocate. People like the antagonists, opponents, who fight you, who resist you, who create stumbling blocks on your way. They set hurdles for you to cross. Yes, you will call them enemies. You may say they're even dream killers or destiny destroyer, but actually they help you to achieve your purpose. For instance, the brethren of Joseph, they sold him to Egypt. Yes, they were antagonists, they were enemies. But do you know that they were bringing him close to his destiny? Because Joseph was destined to end in the palace. He has a role. His ministry or mission or assignment involves him being in the palace of the Pharaoh at a particular time. Okay? He needed to be in Egypt. So his brethren, who were antagonists, helped him to get to Egypt. He acknowledged it. He said, you people meant it for evil, but it was for good, to save many people. So some destiny helpers may not really be appreciated as destiny helpers because they play some negative roles. But we needed those negative roles for us to reach our destiny. So I have given the teaching. Now let me come to the application or to the example or to the testimony, because that is actually why I am making this video today. There's some stories, personal stories involved. So let me dive into the stories. I want to say that I, as a person, I have benefited from the ministry of destiny helpers. I am who I am today and where I am today because some people made it happen. Okay? I'm from a poor family. And if you know my family background, there is no reason I should be who I am today. I'm a medical doctor. There's no reason it would have happened if not for the roles played by certain individuals at one point or the other in my life. So today I'm going to mention names. Not only that, I will even put faces on those names. The people that contributed to me becoming what I am today. Number one, I will talk about my class teacher and my school headmaster. I think the story will start from there. When I was in primary school, at the last year in primary 6, when we were supposed to write our final exams, both the final exam of primary school and the entrance exam to secondary school, I was not able to register for the two exams. Why? Because my father did not have the money to pay for the exam fees. I didn't pay up to the last day. In fact, my teacher had already submitted the final list to the headmaster for onward transmission to the Ministry of Education. So when the headmaster went through the list, he saw that it's not complete. One person is missing. According to our nominal role, one person is missing. So they came back to my class, the teacher and the headmaster, they came to the class and they said, somebody did not register. And I identified myself. I was the one. You know what they did? My class teacher brought out money from his wallet and paid for my common entrance. My headmaster brought out money from his wallet and paid for my first school leaving certificate. That was how I was registered for the two exams. Now, if they did not do that, you know what would have happened? My education would have ended at that stage. Yes, almost certain. I won't go further. I will likely join trade, become an apprentice to one businessman and serve my tenure and be settled and become a business person. That's the natural course it will have taken. But for the intervention of these two gentlemen, it was because of them. And you know the interesting thing? When I wrote that exam, I scored the highest aggregate in the local government in my first school leaving certificate. I had the best result. And I was able to move on to enter secondary school. They were destiny helpers. Then the second person I want to mention was a man called Luke Mora. He was a neighbor, a neighbor. Actually, he was living with his uncle. He was in secondary school when I entered secondary school. Now, when I entered secondary school, I was a voracious reader of novels. I just fell in love with novels. What happened is that at the end of my primary school, the headmaster gave me a prize, a book, because I became the best student of the school in primary school. So the headmaster presented a gift to me, a novel called Gulliver's Travel. When I read that book, the book blew my mind and I fell in love with novels. So when I entered secondary school, I was devouring novels like a madman. I was a voracious reader. So one day, this my friend Luke, this is our neighbor, he called me and he said, the way you read novels, if you read textbooks like that, you're going to be great. It's going to make a big difference. That's what he told me. And I took his advice. I shifted my focus from novels to textbooks. In fact, he made available his textbooks to me. In fact, at a point, when I finished junior WAEC, he gave me the WAEC syllabus, final WAEC syllabus. I should use it to read, to study. And I followed his advice. And that made a difference. That eventually I chose to read medicine is because of Luke. He himself was also preparing to study medicine. So I would say he influenced me that I made this choice to study medicine. It was Luke. So I would say that Luke was like a mentor or an encourager. His role in my life was mentorship and encouragement. He encouraged me. Then I have Ndubiso Cole, who was my classmate. Somehow we became friends. Ndubiso was from a well-to-do family. In fact, some of us were wondering, why did his parents bring him to the village to attend the village school with us? Many of us, we don't know why, but we became friends. In fact, some of the novels I used to read was from their library because they have a lot of books. So I read books. He made available books to me, and I devoured books. He satisfied that my urge to read by making books available, both novels and textbooks. In fact, the first time I wrote an exam, external exam, GCE, it was him. When he went to buy the form for GCE, he persuaded the mother to buy 2 forms, and he gave me one, and I registered and I wrote the exam. So I also consider him an encourager. He was a factor, a success story, a factor to my success story. Then the next person I want to talk about is Charles Orajiako. Charles Orajiako. Now, I want to believe that my ability to become what I am today is connected with the fact that I became born again. I want to believe so. Shortly after I finished secondary school, I became born again. And from that point, things were falling in line. Miracles were happening. That I was able to enter university, study medicine. The finger of God was there. And I believe it was because I was born again. I gave my life to Christ. And it was Charles that brought me to Christ. He was the one that preached to me. So he was the one that connected me with God. So that is divine connection, the ultimate connection. It was Charles. I will give him that credit to introduce me to the Father in heaven, who made things work out for me. Okay. Then there was a man that played a great role in my life. Mr. Ezekiel Ekedum. Well, the picture I'm showing is actually not his picture. It is the picture of his younger brother. I couldn't lay my hand on his actual picture. Well, he's late. Even his younger brother is late. But looking at this, his younger brother, that is his face in his younger days. So that is why I could put this picture to represent him. Mr. Ezekiel Ekedum was like a gatekeeper for me. He was a gatekeeper. When I gained admission to university, when my admission letter came out, that was a good testimony. But it came with a question, a big question mark. How will it happen? By whom shall Jacob arise? For he is small. How will this big task of going to medical school and study medicine, how will it happen? It requires resources. It was this Ezekiel that linked me to the people that sponsored me eventually. He was one that connected, and he influenced that decision. So he was like a gatekeeper. When he told the people, let's do it, they did it. So I will never forget him. I will never forget him because he was a destiny helper. He brought me on the right path. He kept me on the path for my destiny to be achieved. He influenced the influencers, or he influenced the financiers. Okay, so he's recognized. Not only a divine connector, he's also a gatekeeper. Then I have my village people, my village community in Lagos, the Afube Patriotic Union. They are the ultimate financiers of my education. You know, I have discussed it in one of the editions when I talk about my village people, I made it clear that I was sponsored by my community. Okay, my village community, the union from my village people in Lagos branch. They sponsored me from beginning to the end. They gave me a scholarship, and it was a peculiar scholarship. It was not in existence before me, and it stopped existing after me. So I was the first to get it and the last. Through the influence of Mr. Ezekiel Ekedum, they undertook to sponsor me. So they were the ultimate destiny helpers. They financed my education, my university education, until I graduated. So I benefited from them. Well, I'm not going to end this discussion without talking about Mr. David Ode, Pastor Dave, as we call him. How did he come into play? He was a burden bearer. He was a prayer warrior and a prayer partner. I forged a friendship with him that has spanned over 3 decades. We are still in touch, and we are still prayer partners. He's still a burden bearer. I have had difficult times in my days, especially in my university days. I've had turbulent times. I had challenging times. But he stood by me and prayed for me. In fact, he had a group of prayer team that he called burden bearers in those days. On weekly basis, they do night vigil. And on regular basis, they mention my name and they pray about my case. I was able to come out of great waters, cross great hurdles. I would consider him a destiny helper. So that is about myself. I have benefited from destiny helpers. I myself have also been destiny helpers to other people. Yes, God have also used me to bring some other people to their destiny, to achieve their purpose. And I'm going to tell the story of one of them. In fact, that is actually what prompted this topic I'm handling today. It is the story of that boy that instigated or prompted or informed the choice of the topic. So I want to tell the story of Shadrach Daffy. It is his story that prompted this edition. Now, Shadrach is a graduate with BSc in Industrial Mathematics from Ondo State University in Nigeria, Ondo State. Not only that, he has a master's degree, MSc, in Mathematical Engineering and Nanotechnology from both Poland and Rome in Italy. Not only that, he has a PhD in Quantum Science and Engineering from University of Delaware, USA. But right now, he is based in USA. But do you know the interesting thing? That the life journey of Shadrach started here in Guzo in Zamfara State. This is where he was born. And this is where he started his schooling, here in Zamfara, before he now ended up in USA as a PhD holder. There are more interesting things about Shadrach. He was the 4th child in a family of 5 children. He was the second to the last born. The family was so poor that they could not enroll him into secondary school when he finished primary school. Because by then, 3 of his siblings were already in secondary school. So the parents could not afford to have another person enrolled in secondary school. That was how poor they were. Then one of their neighbors, who was also a sister, a member of our church, approached me and he presented the case of Shadrach. That look at this boy, he's brilliant, he's intelligent, he's academically sound, but his parents could not enroll him in secondary school because they couldn't afford it. So she presented that case to me and immediately I undertook to sponsor him. So I asked the parents to enroll him in school and I undertook to sponsor. which I did from primary 1 up to primary 6. Though at some point he does get scholarship from the school. The school has a scheme that if you perform very well in a particular term, they will give you a scholarship for the next term. So at intervals, he will get that scholarship. But I was his sole sponsor throughout secondary school. And when he finished secondary school and gained admission to university, I still undertook to sponsor him through university. So today, he is a PhD holder and based in USA. And the funny thing is that I was eager to sponsor him in university. It was an urge. I felt it as an obligation or a duty. He had some delays before he got admission. I think he wrote JAMB up to 4 times. And during that waiting period, I couldn't just wait for him to get admission because I was eager to sponsor him. It was an urge. It was like a duty I must perform. And I must admit that he has been quite appreciative of that fact, of the role I played in his life. In fact, he has never been, economical with appreciation. Every now and then, either he calls or he texts to thank and appreciate. Even sometimes he sends money, cash, to appreciate. Then last week, almost throughout last week, I was having a burden in my heart. I was feeling, is this boy aware of the role that sister played in his life? That sister contributed to what he has become. It was like a burden in my heart. So last Sunday, in fact, around 3 a.m., I was awake and the urge was there. So I sent a text, a WhatsApp message to him to inform him that this sister Aminu, Sister Victoria Aminu, was the person that brought your case to me. He was the one that made a case for you. That's how I came into your life. So you need to appreciate her. You need to remember her with fondness in your thoughts and your prayers. When I sent that message, shortly after that, he responded. And it was like, this is amazing. He said that for some time of recent, he has been wondering, how on earth did I get involved in his case? How managed? Because that time, I wasn't the youth coordinator. He was not even in the youth department that time. He was in primary school. So how did I come into his matter? He said he was intending to ask me. But before he could ask me, I have answered his question. So I think the following day, he called that sister. He even appreciated her with some cash. And the sister came. Both the sister and the husband, they came to appreciate me and to thank me for the role I played. And it happened that the sister has also been wondering how many that this brother has never acknowledged her or appreciated her. It was a puzzle in her mind. How come? Not knowing that the boy is not even aware. In fact, the parents are not even aware up to that point. So what I found interesting was the chain of reactions. The sister has been wondering in her mind, how come that this boy has never recognized, appreciated the role she played in his life? And the boy was wondering, who on earth introduced me to Dr. Chris? How many? And then I was wondering, I hope this boy is aware that this lady, this sister contributed. And I responded, and the brother responded, and the sister responded. It looks so beautiful. The ripple effect has been so wonderful. That was why I decided to make a video of it and tell the story. So that is the story about Destiny Helpers. The concept, the idea, there was application examples. I have benefited and I have benefited other people. I'm still alive. And I'm still available. I've been talking to God recently. I said, God, I'm still ready to be a destiny helper. I'm still ready to be a positive force or factor in the lives of other people. I'm still working with young people, and I want to be a positive influence in their lives to help them to achieve their destiny. I believe I have achieved my destiny. I believe so. I've achieved the purpose of my existence. And I want to help other people to achieve the purpose of their destiny, purpose of their existence, which is also part of my purpose of existence. Yes, I believe I am destined to be a destiny helper, to help other people succeed. And with all pleasure, I'm going to do that. God helping me. Thank you so much for giving me your audience. See you in the next edition.